Over the last 20 years, I've literally made tens of thousands of feet of trim and molding using a router table setup. And I want to show you exactly how you can succeed in the same kind of venture. Now, first of all, you have to understand that the process needs to start with wood that is very crisp and regular. You want that wood to have square edges and to be exactly the same size from one piece to the other. If there's any difference in size, that's going to translate to differences in the size of your trim, and it's not going to meet together properly in the corners. Now, the table itself is another critical issue. I prefer a stationary floor-mounted table for making trim because it's just a lot easier to work with when it's automatically at table height. It's also more stable, which comes into play, as you'll see, when you're feeding pieces of trim through. It can require quite a lot of pulling force to get that trim to go past all of the feather boards you see here. And so a stationary table just works better for things like that. Now, take a close look at the table, and I want to point out some essential features. The fence and the feather boards are critically important. And you'll see I have a lot of feather boards here. That's because it's essential that the trim be supported fully as it passes past the router bit without moving from piece to piece. So I've got feather boards pointing from the top down to hold the wood down, and feather boards coming in from the side to push that wood tight against the fence. I can't say enough about the importance of crisp stock preparation. Now, you could run your strips through the table saw to get them the right size, but ideally you'll want to use a thickness planer for final dimensioning. That's because the planer is more precise than the table saw, and it also yields smooth results, which is going to make your trim easier to install later because the back surfaces are all going to be perfectly flat. We're just about ready to run some strips of wood through the router table, but I want to point out one last thing. It's essential that the feather boards be adjusted so that they apply consistent pressure to the wood as it goes through. It's not just enough that they be there. They have to actually press the wood in like you see here. So anyway, let's get going. The bottom line is hundreds of dollars worth of great trim made from scraps that might not otherwise be useful for anything. All in all, it's a great deal.